travelers. So that issue has been taken up by the Chief Minister with the Union Civil Aviation Minister, and he has already he has told that he has written a letter. So these kind of issues, which are not very big or large in the overall perspective, yet play some important role, have been addressed in the last 3-4 days so far. Like the other issue was Sada swimming pool. So Sankal Vamodkar came up with that issue that the maintenance is not happening properly. There are no lifeguards. So that is one. Then coastal surveillance. So drones being put for coastal surveillance. Temporary status being given to some municipal workers, and things like that. So these small issues are taken up and they have been addressed. Now the major issues will come in the coming few days. I would also like to point out regarding Ro-Ro ferries, housing board, and staff selection commission. So housing board, the problem was the housing board properties or the flats, or I think they don't come up with plots, do they?
Not really,
Not
but
really.
flats.
So they were being auctioned. So sometimes the auction price is so high that Goans and are not able to afford it, and there's also a possibility of someone who's rich from outside coming and taking a plot. So those issues or those concerns have to be addressed, and I think that demand was very important, so that local people, those who don't have houses, those who are poor, get a shelter, and it has to go to the right people. So these kind of issues are important. Also Ro-Ro ferries, I would say that after a long time we've had some improvements in the old ferry system that has been in place for a very long time. Now it's not perfect, as we've seen. So there are some teetering issues, like at the peak time there is too much rush which is happening. So probably they could have one or two extra old ferries at that time to resolve those issues. I think hopefully those issues will be resolved. But a new initiative from the government, and I think it has to be appreciated. It is slightly faster in the sense that you have to load from one side and you can unload it from the other side. So the entire process is a little faster and cleaner, and so on. But teetering issues are there with everything. Also the fare concession that is being asked by the locals, I think that will have to be looked at, especially for those Shorao residents who commute on a daily basis. So I think that would be addressed. But a good initiative from the government as far as the Ro-Ro ferries are concerned. We need this kind of development in a lot of sectors. And I would, like I say always, I would like to point out that maintenance has to be done properly. Nowadays we see a lot of infrastructure work, like school buildings and roads, but that maintenance, if it doesn't happen over a long period of time, then it can be a problem. So the focus has to be there on maintenance, and I think that is something which needs to be considered when a project is implemented.
Thanks, Viraj. Francis Bab, yeah, now Viraj has been very cynical and neutral, but I think what you feel, what is your this about this session as of till date?
I would like to comment on a couple of things. See, when you're talking about the first 3 days being the budget session, the assembly is for 15 days, and first 3 days the budget session, and then the remaining 12 days will be distributed amongst different departments, right? Now, in the budget session, there is little bit of tamasha happening where no real budget introspection is happening, is what I feel. Now, let me give you an example. One of the MLAs made a statement to say, like, the budget is like a bag of chips where there's a lot of air, varo asubes and chips suneha. That is great. You know, it's talking to the gallery. It's a good tamasha.
Clickbait.
Yeah, it's clickbait. It's good. Lokak te icon bara dista lok talia wajeta. But actually varo ha and actually chips ha te ulong gosa zala tene. You know, udaran diung zain assembly in te ulong zai. I'll just give you an example. When they talk about the budget, 2100 कोटी तरी एड्युकेशनाचे बजेट दवरला. आता 2100 कोटीन कितें आहा भितर वचोन सांगपाक जाय कितें आहा, स्कुलां कित्याक बंद जाता, how much is that for infrastructure, how much of it is for robotics and development, how much of it is for skill development, how much of it is for vocational training. ते 2100 कोटीचे तेणे मातशें स्टडी करून थिंगा असेंब्लीन वचोन गव्हर्मेंटाक विचारूंक जाय बाबा तुमी 2100 कोटी दवरले एड्युकेशनाक, तितून 1000 कोटी तो सॅलरीजूच वयता, बाकीचे पयशे कोडिंग एंड डेव्हलपमेंटाक तुमकां पयशे जाय. NEP इम्प्लिमेंटेशन, इतले व्हडले NEP इम्प्लिमेंटेशन चालू आहा, NEP इम्प्लिमेंटेशनाक कितले पयशे तेणी दवरला फॉर ट्रेनिंग ऑफ टीचर्स ऑन NEP? नो मेन्शन ऑफ दॅट इज देर. Nor is the MLA asking the government on what is the budget that has been allocated to NEP implementation. Nor is the government talking about it. So doing theatrics and talking about chipsaचे packet aha and ek packet bollele aha and ek packet and baro aha, that makes no sense if you don't actually question the government on exactly what is the budget of education, how much is being spent on NEP education, NEP implementation, where is it going for training, how much is going to teacher salaries, how many new teachers are going to be appointed. None of that is being discussed, which I feel is a little bit of a letdown, both from the government, definitely, because the government doesn't give details. They are not giving you details on how that 2100 crores is going to be spent. And the opposition needs to start questioning them on facts and figures, rather than making broad statements that are funny and cool about, air in this. That is one thing. Also about things like, when you're talking about the MOPA to Gatwick flight, the government has been questioned, right? And they have been asked, and the Chief Minister has given assurance on the floor of the House that he will talk to the Central Aviation Ministry and he will ask them why that flight has been stopped and question them and all that.
It's quite a problem for
Goans. It is a very big problem. Yeah. There is a huge Goan diaspora living in the UK, yes. And that Gatwick MOPA flight was a lifeline for those people. Now, the question should have been, why did the government allow it to happen? Because the DGCA and the Airports Authority of India, they get an intimation first that the flight is going to be cancelled. That means the government had prior knowledge that that flight was going to be cancelled, right? They allowed it to get cancelled. The question should have been in the assembly, तुम्ही allow कित्याक केली ती flight बंद करपाची? तुम्ही अलाउच करूंक उपकारून आहले, तुम्ही एअरलायनाक सांगूंक जाय की बाबा ही फ्लायट एकदम इम्पॉर्टंट, आमचे गोंयकार थिंगा वयता येता हेंका ती फ्लायट बऱ्याक पडटा, सोय पडटा. That should have been the question, not ki tu ichar magir amka sang. That is not really going down to the brass tacks of it, which I feel I'm hoping that in the remaining 12, 13 days that are left of the assembly.
15, I think.
No, it's totally 15 days. No, 12 minus 3, 12 plus 3.
No, it's not 15 plus 3.
No, it's not 15 plus 3. It's 15 totally, 12 plus 3. And that's another problem. Earlier, last year, it was 15 plus 3, so it was 18 days. 18 days. Today, this time it's reduced by 3 days, which is a lot of reduction. The number, these kind of things need to be discussed. No, we need to discuss what is this what is this education budget? Why are schools getting shut down? He talks about parents want to put their children in पणजेच्या शहरांच्या स्कूलांनी घालूंक सोदता म्हणून schools are shutting down in the rural areas, but that's not the case. There are schools that are shutting down in Mapsa, in the city. There are schools that are shutting down in Margao, in the city. Now, if those schools are shutting down, then the CM statement makes no sense. So the opposition has to question him on exactly what schools are you talking about of shutdown. Let's talk about a list. Here is a list of schools that are shut down. Okay, why did this school shut down? Why is this school not being revived? This school is not shut down because there were no students. Some schools there are students but there are no teachers, and that's why they are shutting them down. Now that is the government's fault. Now that fault should reflect in the budget. If they had allocated enough of budget to hire new teachers, train them and put them in that school wouldn't have shut down. But they shut down a school because of lack of government teachers in that school. Right, and they merged that school with another school because there were students were there. So these are the points that if you're talking about budget, we should be discussing in depth about that. But I just give you the example of an education budget. But then there is a budget for every department, right? The Ro-Ro ferry department is a budget where they should have revamped the ferries over these years. There is a budget every year. Allocate and bring one new ferry every year, and over 5 years you change the ferries. But they have not done that. They are saying the Ro-Ro ferries are not even owned by the government. They are owned by a private operator. Then where is the river navigation department budgets going if they can't bring in one new ferry? That has to be questioned. So every department we can question the budget, deep dive into the budget, and we can figure out why.
But that's not happened.
That's not
even
happened.
On the NEP thing, in fact, I wanted to bring up an issue about this NEP now, 2,100 crores. Okay, education doesn't get too much of a allocation in the budget, but whatever. Now, so much has been allocated for NEP, but nobody seems to know where that thing. Awareness is created. Where awareness created? Among the department, among the schools, I don't know. Now, see, here we have a very vibrant social presence, social media. Not we, means generally Goa is very vibrant. Social media, the cable, print. but none of them have been involved to ensure that this awareness goes to the people. Ultimately, the NEP is for whom? Is for the politicians or for the bureaucrats?
Right.
Here, coding is for whom?
Yeah.
It should come for the people. So awareness now, is it that the ministers and all have their own newspapers and channels and they are doing awareness to their own people, like what happened in GMC, or is it that they actually want people to know so people can question and people can make use of all the.
See, there is no.
2,100 is a lot of money which has to be used properly.
There is no explanation. I was trying to look into
the logic also in
there is no logic, there is no explanation. I was trying to look in 2,100 कोटी त्यांनी 2,100 कोटी त्यांनी education दिल्या. I found couple of small line items in that. म्हणजे 200 कोटी त्यांनी infrastructure सोडलं. Now is that infrastructure maintenance of existing schools or is that 200 crores going to be able to build one new school? No answer. There is no clarity on that. मग 200 कोटी दोल्ल्या त्यांनी इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर ऑफ एड्युकेशन पण कित्याक दोल्ल्या मेंटेनन्स करूंक जाय इतल्या स्कुलांचे 200 कोटी उपकारचे ना आणि नये स्कूल बांदूंक असो जाल्यार 200 कोटी उपकारो ना सो व्हॉट इज दॅट 200 crores for no answer. They have kept 19.91 crores which is about 20 crores for robotics and coding. Now the entire education system worldwide teaches coding and robotics at a school level.
Here also
right?
they teach at least the private
so in 20 crore rupees, in 20 crore rupees, how many students? We have 3 lakh students in Goa. 3 lakh भुरग्यांक तुम्ही 20 कोट्यांनी कोडिंग आणि हे रोबोटिक्स शिकयतले फकत तुम्ही ते 20 कोटी दोल्ल्या टीचराक ट्रेनिंग करपाक कितें कांय सोजमना 20 कोटी दोल्ल्या
20 crores I think what government spends on events and
exactly
all over.
Exactly, they'll do one coding and robotics championship where they'll do a coding contest or something and they'll spend that 20 crore rupees. So we don't know what is this. So everything they have. I'll give you an example.
No, but this stop. Now this is not, see, government is government, right? It's made the money, but this is the fault of the opposition. The opposition is not really attacked them on these points.
That's exactly my point. See, one of the MLAs, I don't want to pinpoint MLAs, but MLAs, their job according to me is to go into that assembly and bring out facts and figures and question the government on facts and figures. Corner the government on minute details of the budget in 3 days. But rather than do that, they have made broader statements that is playing to the gallery, that is tamasha, that is gets them claps and likes on social media की चिप्साच्या पॅकेटा भाशेन तितून वारो सुबेज असता आणि हे चिप्स उणे असतात ते सगळी फकाणां आमकां नाका ते आसोंक बरें दिसता and it's a short term thing. You know, if you want to corner the government and you want to say that this government needs to change, then you need to get into the details and like, you know, तेंका सामको नागडो करूंक जाय हें सगळें विचारून की बाबा हे 20 कोटी कित्याचे रोबोटिक्स आनी हे घाला तुम्ही पण रोबोटिक्स म्हणजे कितें तुम्ही भुरग्यांक शिकयतले रोबोटिक्स
not education, you look into like
everything, each and everything.
Viraj, you agree that people need to go more like people like more like you and me, where we need to go in for the figures and the facts and whatever, or this is just
Viraj has more facts and figures than the MLAs have.
This is something like that.
Agree with Francis. Yeah. So what happens is if you make some fancy statements like we've been seeing in the recent past, so they don't serve any purpose. So instead,
they serve purpose, they get likes and become viral videos.
Popularity contest. You already elected. You can't be keeping on running the popularity. Miss India झालो तो आता.
So he's absolutely right. They need to look into the figures, the allocation, the percentages,
compliances
and all those things, and that those issues have to be highlighted so that even the government can make some changes in not this time around, probably next time around, and present it in a better way. Provide funds to departments which need a little more, and some which have surplus funds, they can be routed to some other department which is actually in need of funds and schemes as well. So that is more relevant, more important, rather than making some statements like chips packet and this and that, which has, I personally feel,
or Sholay.
Itne aadmi the. I mean, I don't question his intention, but I think more focus has to be on the numbers, implementation, and like I said, infrastructure is there, maintenance, numbers are there. On paper, what happens on the field is important, so that has to be pointed out. So I feel this is something that the opposition MLAs should do. Even the ruling MLAs can do it, because there are issues concerning their own constituents and they are supposed to
actually you know, you brought in a very good point. Now it's something which is close to all us who live in the state probably country and the world, water and electricity. And the issue about water was brought in by the BJP Sioli MLA. Tourism, MOPA and whatever, he is fighting for North, and like South Goa MLA will probably fight for like Sankalp was fighting for Daboli. Now these are government MLAs.
No, I think in an assembly, I think.
No, wait. I'm not saying that. Now this is one thing. Like, so at least the opposition is doing. I mean, sorry, the ruling is doing a good job, I must say.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree with that at all.
In this way,
I can't say that. I can't allow you also to say that by mistake. Also, ruling is doing a good job.
On this, they are bringing up issues
as an opposition.
As an opposition.
No,
yeah. Wait. Another point. Now see, we spoke about water and we spoke about MOPA. Now electricity. Every village has got some major electricity cuts. There are linesmen like dying left, right and center. So much budget is there. They are not given proper gloves. They are asked to go out in the rains when the wires. Go around and see in Goa. See those wires hanging around. Whatever those budgets are there every year for maintenance and for new thing. I don't know where the money is going. People are dying. Electricity cities may be little better. Look at the industrial estates. Without DG set, they cannot do business. Look at the villages. Look at the tourism is supposed to be our thing. How many restaurants can work without DG sets? Can they work? It is not possible. One. So why is the government only is blaming? No. We need to put solar on top of the government buildings. We need to this. We lost that deal, which was whatever due to something. So we are not getting. Look at the what do you say the leakages, the infrastructure, the wire.
Basic infrastructure.
Oh, yeah, that is what the opposition should do. That is what the ruling MLAs are bringing up. Yeah.
See, I'll tell you what. Another thing. No,
I know you may disagree, but that's what I'm saying.
I'll tell you why I disagree. See, what happens is there has to be a
balance.
There has to be a space given to the opposition to bring up real issues, right? If the ruling brings up flimsy issues, right, that will be discussed, then they are trying to fill in that space. So what they are doing is they are fooling the Goan people by saying that, like, we also brought up issues, but those issues are not real. If Michael Lobo or any of the ruling MLAs would have talked about the budget in tourism, or
they can't talk about the budget.
They should be talking about. They should be. No, he's talking about things. No, he's talking about things. No, let him talk about specifics. Let him talk about specifics. No, what?
Yeah. So I'll just come to.
You get his point. I don't agree with his point.
See, electricity, I think the linesmen that work in the electricity department are by far the hardest working people, and they have to really slog it out in the
because our electricity infrastructure is a shambles, complete shambles.
Completely goes out to them, and the deaths have been way too many. I mean, absolutely unfortunate. But I think in the long run, we should look at the underground cabling. Like the major cities, Margam has underground cabling, and the power cuts are way too less. And
city.
Yeah,
only city. I am talking about villages.
Yes. So I think maybe some effort is required in converting the overhead lines to underground in the villages as well. I think it's being done in certain places like Madkai and I don't know in the north.
Very
Madkai, because the electricity minister comes from Madkai. So things are underground Korea. Baki je Goya fonan gele.
Like I don't recall. I don't know. We were having a discussion on PHCs and CHCs on this JMC thing. You think PHC and CHC in Valpo is doing very well, but the rest of the PHCs and CHCs are shut.
So same technology, same underground cabling has to go in other villages as well. Maybe probably
fine.
We can do.
That's long term, lot of money. But what about equipment for the linesmen? What about the infrastructure? Those wires, those poles, those wires taking this connection. That can be done. That is maintenance. That I'm sure the electricity department has got budgets. No, I don't know. What do you say about that?
Maintenance is the key. Anywhere you go, any department, maintenance is the key. That has
which
to be
doesn't happen in. Look at our roads here.
Focused on, because we have like very nice highways which have been made. Nice in the sense that broad highway, but if there are potholes after 3 years, 4 years, or whatever.
3 years.
It's been 3-4 years.
You know, see.
So then that has to be maintained. Even that bypass, western bypass in Margam, there are a couple of potholes in a couple of
strategic
areas. So those have to be looked at. Otherwise, there can be issues. So similarly, coming to NEP, so now there has to be a proper survey, and probably they should be able to pinpoint schools. Like there are many aided schools. They were all this while the timing was 8 to maybe around 1:32. So the kids used to go home and eat their food. Now since they'll be staying there till 4 p.m. there has to be proper arrangement.
When is it supposed to be?
It's already started.
Implemented, no?
Yeah.
See,
so with that longer duration, your washroom toilet usage will go higher. You need proper space to have food, like sit and eat, maybe some dining arrangement or some other arrangement. So these are things that have to be looked at. Because longer duration means they are there for a longer period of time, the facilities will be used
of course.
More. So if certain schools in say Veli doesn't have or Taldingau doesn't have, they have to be pinpointed. Probably the infrastructure needs to be upgraded only because of this NEP, because all this while they were doing decently well. So these are things that have to come from the respective MLAs. And this has to come to the government, and then the government has to...
because MLAs know what's happening in the schools in their area.
I'll give you a basic faux pas of the basic mess up of the government. The government announced recently, or rather central government announced that Goa is completely literate. You remember that? In their budget, in the education budget, they are saying that this budget is to make Goa completely literate. So I don't understand why no MLA has caught on to that basic fact, where the government is basically contradicting itself in its statements, where one part of the government says that we are completely literate state, 100% literacy has been achieved, and then their document or the budget on education says that this money is going to be spent and one of the objectives is to reach 100% literacy. So like, who's wrong? Is the budget statement wrong, or is the person who made the statement on television wrong? Now this is a basic thing that, like, you know, if you read the budget and you try to dig deeper into it, you'll find that out.
Defecation free.
Yeah, that's another.
I think whoever has said that it's defecation free should
has to go to Mangor Hill.
Mangor Hill on the riverside, has to go to Miramar beach in the morning on riverside, has to go to all the beaches and check how much defecation, has to go to on the highways.
Yeah, Madgaon railway station.
Yeah, railway station.
Madgaon railway station. Take a train and go to Madgaon railway station. You are like, you know, you are welcomed with a very disgusting sight, and then you say Goa is defecation free, open defecation free. It is not open defecation free. It is open defecation free for all.
Miramar beach. I was shocked that day. Then people, Miramar beach. I was parking there and waiting to pick up my son. Okay, there is a greenery there, and there are guys that go to the toilet and peeing. There's a toilet right next to the dustbins there. The people come, they just throw it out. There are no dustbins. Where they are going to throw the things? I mean, sorry, this is not an issue for that. But I'm just saying, it's like these are the issues which are important for people. Why don't the MLAs bring these things up?
But you know, one before we'll run.
Rajan should have been here. You see, no, all settings because we talk like this.
One very important thing, Glenn, that we need to discuss is the Indian judicial report that has downgraded Goa. Yeah. When this Chief Minister took up office.
Law and order you're talking about.
Yeah, law and order. When the Chief Minister took up office, the present Chief Minister in 2019, when he joined office and took up office, Goa was among the top in the smaller states. It was number one in the smaller states as far as the judicial report is concerned. Now, judicial report talks about
law and order is also an issue which came up, and these robberies are happening.
Yeah, it talks about policing. It talks about the judiciary being staffed, not staffed. It talks about the prison systems, and it talks about correctional facilities, right? Prisons again. None of this, and it talks about legal aid. So legal aid, prisons, police, and judiciary. 4 aspects they have made the Indian judicial report, and Goa has gone from number 1 position to the last position in the span that Pramod Sawant has been in office. He is the Home Minister. Ata ye judicial report, it is 221 pages. I have just finished reading about 120 odd pages. 100 page makat
but that's all India.
But that's all India. But you know, when you read the report, you understand why Goa has been put to the lowest level, no? And they give you facts and figures. They give you facts like how many lady judges are there. How many lady judges are there?
80% lady judges in Goa?
No, at the lower level, but at the top level they are not there. And now that's another thing. What about legal aid? Goa had like the highest legal aid at once upon a time. Now they have the lowest legal aid. We have been ranked low because on all parameters. Policing, the staffing in the police is not complete. Police trainings are not complete. The police complaint authority is getting more complaints than it was getting in 2019. Every single factor, when you read that report, you see that Goa has been downgraded because, like,
this is what, a government report?
This is a report by 2 government agencies and 3 independent agencies. So it's 5 agencies collectively. It's a very lengthy and very deep report. It is a very, very detailed report. Like I'm saying, 210 pages and more. And they have given a lot of weightage to these 4 aspects. And Goa is failing on policing, Goa is failing on judiciary, not staffed properly. Judiciary does not, if you see some of the old the judge chambers and all, they're all falling apart. Right? If you see the correctional facilities, every single day we get to hear about how drugs was found in the prison, how prison guards have been supplying, fancy things, how prisoners have mobile phones. That is completely gone. Legal aid, there were people who were giving legal aid to everybody in corners of Goa. That legal aid has just vanished, and nobody in the government seems to ask why that legal aid. There are people who have got bail and are still in Kolwale jail for 2 years after bail has been granted, because there's no legal aid for that person. It's a poor labourer who's come from UP and he's stuck in Kolwale jail, for a petty crime that he committed. Kolwale jail is filled. We are paying for his food over there. Everything in law and order has to be discussed in detail in the assembly, rather than talk about chip packets and like how much is air there in the chip packets. Bring that report out and discuss it.
Okay. Anyway, we are out of time. We will be back on this assembly audit on Friday. But as of now, I'd like to thank you, Francis Bab Coelho and Viraj Bhamnagar. Thank you. And now we will go back to a live coverage of the assembly. Keep watching. I am Glenn Costa on Goa365's assembly audit.
Thank you.